Hey everyone, today we have a 2026 Buick Enclave. So the biggest offering in Buick's lineup. It starts at around $48,000, goes up to $66K and is heavily based on Chevy Traverse and GMC Acadia. It uses the same platform, same suspension type, so strut front, multilink rear. However, our Avenir tester, which is fully loaded, gets adaptive dampers for higher ride comfort and better driving dynamics. We get 22-inch rims on the Avenir, wrapped in Continental cross-contact all-season tires. And from a design perspective, this thing looks pretty attractive. Buick has been on a roll for the past few years, and I know they're kind of that forgotten child in GM's lineup, but they make pretty attractive vehicle. Now, the only problem that I truly have with this thing is not that it's a Buick and I'm a very anti-stigma person, it's what powers this thing. We have a rather tiny 2.5 liter four-cylinder which makes 328 horsepower, 326 pound-feet of torque, so that's not a lot. And it's not a huge problem, right? Because cars like a Volvo XC90 or a Lexus TX also get turbo 4 poppers, but the tuning and calibration of this powertrain is far from perfect. We can very quickly pop the hood and see what's going on there. The latch is very easy to locate, so we're off to a good start. And super easy to find. We have struts, so gone is the V6. We have this turbo 4, which lacks refinement and feels very strained and grainy. I'll talk more about that when we get into driving impressions, but it is a little bit of a disappointment, especially for a car that aspires to be that entry-level premium product. It's made it to an 8-speed automatic transmission. Front-wheel drive is standard. For $2,000, you can get an on-demand all-wheel drive system. Let's quickly talk about the interior space. We have white-on-white setup, which looks great. I'm a huge fan of bright interiors. The front seats are on the firmer side, but they're pretty comfortable, have a good amount of adjustments, and are very nicely holding you in place if needed. They are heated and cooled, and also have a pseudo massage mode. Basically what it does, like in other GM products, it inflates and deflates lumbar support, so that can help with fatigue on longer trips. We have decently sized door pockets, power folding mirrors, and all 4 windows are automatic down, but only driver's window is automatic up. So also for an entry-level luxury vehicle, well, I would expect a little bit more. Super easy step in height, as you expect from a mid-size SUV. Let's start this thing up. That powerful inline-4 wakes up to life, and we are greeted with a very nice space. Really well appointed, lots of different colors, textures. We have real aluminum, something that looks like a leather but isn't, with perforations, fake wood trim, and good amount of metal elements, and just a very nice and clean design. Right in front of us, we have a customizable gauge cluster, which we can use to display our Google Maps or have a driver assistance view. Super Cruise is optional. It's a $3,000 option, but if you do a lot of highway driving, I really recommend it. It's great. It automatically changes lanes for you and is compatible with more and more roads every month, to the point where even some back roads are compatible and you can drive hands-free on those. We have a Google-based infotainment system with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay that can be connected wirelessly. Has a very nice clean layout, similar to what GM has in their other products. Unfortunately, we don't have that many physical controls, so if you want to enable your dome lights, there's no switch here on the upper portion. You can only turn on the reading lights. If you want to have a full blast across the cabin, you have to hit that dome light switch. 360-degree camera is standard on the Avenir. Just a little tiny image, but it is high resolution. I have no complaints about it. We have physical climate switches, physical volume knob, wireless charger, lots of space across the entire cabin, very deep storage under the armrest and here in the center console, and a glove box that opens up with a latch. You don't have to click on the screen unlike in Cadillac products, so it's nice. I would love to see it being lined with felt. It's a lot of hard touch plastic here, but we can give it a pass. Digital rear view mirror if you have lots of stuff in your trunk and that blocks visibility. Sunglasses holder with sunglasses. Well, I guess whoever had this car before me left those. Not really my vibe. So we're just gonna put them back. Very decently sized mirror and sun visors, and they obviously slide. Some additional physical controls for parking brake, drive mode selector, all-wheel drive system, auto hold, auto start stop, and a manual dimmer, which I always like. We have a Bose Performance Series sound system, which typically for Bose is bass heavy, but after you bring the bass down, bump up trebles, it's gonna produce a pretty nice sound quality. Wireless charger for our phone, and very nice driving position, which is on the lower side. Did not expect that from Buick, but I'll always take it. I love sporty feeling in a vehicle. Check out the second row of seats. The door opens basically at a 90-degree angle, so for a family vehicle, that's great. The seats are adjustable. You can drop them or slide them. Lots of adjustments here. Let's jump in, and just like in the Traverse that I tested a couple of years ago, I have plenty of space. Even when I move the seat up to give some space for the passengers in the third row, I still fit comfortably and can go in a full-blown luxury mode. Huge panoramic sunroof. This part opens up to get armrests, third zone climate control, two USB-C ports, household power outlet, some deep storage here, cup holders, vents mounted in the roof. Unfortunately, no sunshades. I don't know if they're optional or not, but I think they're not, so that is a miss. And a really, really nicely designed cabin. I can't believe it's a Buick. All right, I'm not gonna be recording with those old commercials, but they really did a very good job with design and build quality. To access the third row, you can just flip the switch here. This is gonna move for us. And let's just remind ourselves that this is a mid-sized SUV, so you will not have plenty of space, but as an adult, I could travel here for around 2 or 3 hours. I have additional USB-C charging ports, climate vents, and pretty decent amount of space. Also with that opening in the second row is easy access. This third row of seats. Let's just jump out. Close this, move this a little bit. Gonna check out the cargo area and fold down the third seats. Here's our gas cap. The car takes regular, but I would highly recommend getting premium. It's a turbo and direct injected engine, so to keep its performance, put at least a 91 in. Extra space under the floor, and even with third row up, there's still a decent amount of cargo area. You can fold the seats using the switch and have even more. One thing that I realized driving this Enclave for the past few days is it basically has dimensions of old Chevy Tahoe, and it's still a unibody construction, so it doesn't have that shutter associated with body on frame constructions, and it's more comfortable. We have 12-volt power outlet and really good amount of space. I forgot how much you can tow with the Enclave. I'll put it up on the screen, but here's a cover for our tow hook. Alrighty, let's take it for a spin, see how this thing drives, and if it's any better than Chevy Traverse that I had the chance to drive in 2024. I like the Traverse, but the engine was a little bit problematic, and the transmission tuning also wasn't all that great. I will say though, the engine bay is pretty quiet, and taking off is super easy in this thing. Inputs feel very nice and natural. That includes gas pedal, brake, you can very nicely slow down and stop like a chauffeur without that lurch. It's gonna be a speed bump here. Let's see how those 22s do. Well, you can hear them, but it is a very nice and comfortable vehicle, just like you would expect from a Buick. One thing that GM has addressed with this 2.5 liter powertrain and an 8-speed automatic transmission is transmission calibration. When I drove the Traverse, I had some issues with lurchiness. The transmission didn't know if it was going into right gear, if it should downshift or stay in gear. That's not a problem here. We can very easily floor it. And when it comes to power delivery itself and the amount of power and torque we get, this 2.5 liter isn't bad. It has 328 horsepower, 326 pound-feet of torque. The torque peak is pretty high up for a turbo engine. With most new cars, we get hit with that torque at 1500 RPM, maybe 2000. Here, it's in like 3-4K area. So you have to rev this thing up to get the car going. But also, if you're used to driving cars with naturally aspirated engines, you will feel more at home with how this thing delivers power. Yeah, when it comes to smoothness, this thing is really, really well executed, noticeably more comfortable than a Traverse or GMC Acadia. Also, driving position is just great. Really wide seats. They are on a firmer side. It took me a couple of days to get used to them, but that's a thing with every car. Every seat design is different, and nothing's gonna compare to the seats that Volvo has, but those are also pretty okay. See if I can figure out how to turn on this massage mode. I think I have to mess with my lumbar support controller. There it is. So what modes do I have? I have roll, and I only have roll. Alrighty, it's gonna help with my old back. After I turned 30, it really started to hurt, especially L1 to L5 area. I just have to move more. I sit behind the desk for a good amount of time and don't move enough because I just love driving. Okay, check out this rear view mirror, pretty high resolution. Not a fan of using it on a daily basis, but I did find it useful when I have lots of stuff in the trunk and cannot see anything out of the rear window. Speaking of visibility, the door line is pretty high up and the windows aren't huge. The visibility, I would say, it's average. I just got out of a Subaru Forester and the Forester was like an aquarium. I could literally see everything. Here, that visibility is a little bit more compromised, especially with the huge deep pillar that we have out back, but it's totally fine, especially since we have blind spot monitoring and all those driver assistance systems. So we can put it in sport mode. Check how it's going to accelerate. The power delivery isn't that bad. It's just the sound of this engine. It's atrocious, and when it holds revs, you're like, is there something wrong with it? Is it going to blow up? Well, not really, but it's just lacking some refinement. And I'm of an opinion that if you take away a 6 or 8 cylinder engine, put a turbo 4 popper in it, it better be good. I have nothing against it. Volvo XC90 has a very nicely tuned 4-cylinder. Lexus TX also has an okay 4 popper. This just lacks that refinement. And again, don't want to sound like a broken record, but Buick is that entry-level luxury vehicle, and it has everything to compete with other rivals. Really high ride quality, super amazing, and there isn't much head toss, which sometimes you can experience in big 3-row mid-size SUVs. The suspension is not firm, but has a little bit of that harshness to it. That's very good. The inputs feel nice, and the cabin is also very quiet. In the Avenir model, we get active sound isolation, so you can think of it as noise cancellation that you have in your headphones. It's just gonna pick up noises and play them in an inverse way to cancel out some stuff. Well, lots of understeer here. I mean, this is a Buick, so we cannot expect much when it comes to driving dynamics, and nobody buys a 3-row SUV to drive it aggressively. Come back to tour mode, just drive around suburbs and do what 99% of people driving the Enclave will be doing. Let's check out the navigation system here. We have native Google Maps. We can also install Waze. And there's more stuff that you want to use, like Apple Maps. You're always free to do so. You can just connect using wireless Apple CarPlay. Also very good and high resolution of the screens. They don't blind you at night. The black levels are good. And also they're not overwhelming. We have all information that we need. If you switch to the driver assistance view, it tells you the stopping distance between you and the following vehicle. So that's cool if you're trying to be a safer driver. Oh look, we're on this county road and I can enable Super Cruise. So GM has not been sleeping. They've been mapping more and more roads. And I think besides Tesla's semi-autonomous driving system, this is the second best. Well, now Super Cruise decided that it's gonna deactivate itself. It was unavailable. There's some work stuff going on, so that might be the reason why, but we're back in business and we have our Super Cruise. All right, so let's sum this thing up. It's a pretty well executed luxury, semi-luxury, family three-row SUV. Has lots of space, very well appointed cabin, high levels of comfort, quiet cabin, and if it wasn't for the engine, this would have been a very, very interesting proposition. I'm not saying it disqualifies this thing, but you should take it for a drive, see what you think about it, and see if you can live with it, because other than that, I like it more than I thought I would. So yeah, good job Buick or GM, just fix that motor. Put a V6 under the hood, bring back the old 3.6 and everyone's gonna be happy, and this will truly feel like a more upscale product. Alrighty, let me know what you guys think about this thing. I've been enjoying driving it as a daily commuter and something to carry my family around. If you have any questions about this thing, drop a comment. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you all later. Take care.